I'm Maddie Lee, joined by Joe Masato after the Thunder's 119-106 win over the Portland Trailblazers. Joe, two very injury-plagued teams meeting up tonight, but the Thunder was the better of them.
Yeah, and the Thunder probably had more to work with tonight. The Trailblazers, CJ McCollum injured he sprained his ankle the day before in Dallas. They've been without Yusuf Nurkic all season, Zach Collins, Rodney Hood, just so many injuries. And then today they make a trade where they send out Anthony Tolliver and Kent Bazemore to Sacramento, so they didn't have those guys either.
That did not help.
Thunder was without Danilo Gallinari for rest, and Abdul Nader was out. Terrence Ferguson was also out, but that's all to say the Thunder still had the edge.
Yes, they certainly did. And they've fallen into a trap of getting behind in first quarters recently. Chris Paul made sure that didn't happen tonight. He scored 12 in the first quarter, finished the game with a team high, and really had control of the game whenever he was in there.
Yeah, he was spectacular, and we've talked a lot about his clutch scoring in the fourth quarter and how he really takes over late in games. Today, it was kind of the opposite. He took over early, his tied a season high with 30 points, and he said after the game that without Danilo Gallinari in there and the scoring that he provides, he knew that needed to come from somewhere else, and he provided it himself.
Sure was him, so much so that he didn't have to finish the game out.
Right.
The Thunder had essentially won already by the time that they got to the last minutes. But you had, because of the fact that it's the second night of back-to-back and all the injuries that the Thunder had, you had guys coming in who don't usually get many minutes. Lou Dort, again, gets to come in and match up with Damian Lillard. He played the last time that the Thunder were in Portland and played about 20 minutes. Then tonight he comes in and immediately starts taking charges left and right. Within the first three possessions, he got offensive fouls called on Damian Lillard and Carmelo Anthony.
Right.
So coming out strong, scored some at that point too. He just seemed like he was all over the place, especially at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, he just comes in and he's like an instant energy boost for this Thunder team. And he played in that previous Portland game, like you mentioned, but he hasn't played with the Thunder since December 29th. So he came in, and it was like no time had been lost. He was the energetic Lou Dort, and Hamidou Diallo, Deonte Burton. They were kind of similar players tonight for the Thunder, where they were, the young guys were really counted on.
Yeah, you had a lot of lineups where it was one guy who was a veteran, and then everyone else was 21 and younger. Mm-hmm. And then there are other ones where Deonte Burton, we think of him as being very young. He's over 21. But a lot of groups with a lack of experience who gelled really well tonight. Granted, they were playing against a very short-handed Portland team, but they were able to show that even now they can play well together, and so you'd expect some of those guys to be in the future plans for the Thunder, and can only imagine what they'll be when they have a few more years under their belts.
Yeah, exactly. And when both teams are playing on the second night of a back-to-back, it's sort of that perfect time to showcase some of that younger talent and see what those guys can do on the court together, and they played quite well tonight. So, yeah, it was definitely a look toward the future.
Yep. So the Thunder, this was the last game of a 3-game homestand. They head on the road next. But first, here's post-game video from Chris Paul, Nerlens Noel, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.